Hey everybody, Brian Hunt here with you for another video. In this one, we are talking about unwritten rules for when you're working in freelance video. Okay, so this is going to go more into when you're working in freelance video and you're being hired by another production company or another agency to do work for them. So a lot of times in my work in the freelance video world as well, especially when you're working on corporate and sometimes some commercial films when you're going direct, or commercial videos when you're going direct to client, or the production company is going direct to client. This kind of scenario can happen. These are some unwritten rules that you need to follow to make sure you don't land yourself in any trouble and cause a bad name for yourself. There's a video I'm going to link to up here that I did before about word of mouth and how word of mouth is still king when you're getting work. The video and film and production kind of community in different areas are typically pretty tight-knit communities. A lot of people know a lot of people. It's a lot of word of mouth that way, so you need to be sure that you are not burning any bridges and causing any problems. So let me start off with kind of the scenario here. So myself, I work as a camera operator, as an owner-operator with my own equipment, my own gear, my own lighting, my own audio stuff, and I do my own production work where I have my own production company that I have an editor, I have a couple other people that work with me, and we go out and do full productions for places from start to finish. And I also get hired as a camera operator, as a director of photography, and director sometimes to do work for another production company or another agency, or sometimes we're actually going in and doing all the work and doing all the post work, but we're working for another production company and another agency. And so what I'm talking about in here, and this is the kind of the unwritten rules, is the etiquette and what you're doing when you're on set, when you're working with clients and you're working for another, you've been subcontracted by another production company, another agency. And these are very important. I learned these very early on. There was an error on my side where I almost did something that caused some issues that way, and not purposely. It was something that I didn't really think through, and I think a lot of people early on in their careers do not think of this when they're getting hired this way. So if I hire you on as a production assistant, as a camera operator, and you're working for me and it's my production and I have this job through the client and I've hired you on as a freelancer to come work for me. And the same thing goes for if myself and I'm getting hired by another production company or another agency and going out to work for them. You cannot try to solicit your own work, your own production work, while you are working for another company. Now, this might seem like logic, and it kind of is, but it becomes easy to get into a problem this way because we all like to talk about the work that we do and other stuff that we do. So we have to be careful when we're on set this way, when we're working for somebody else, and really be conscious of you are working for that other company and you need to be representing them. And so there should be no talk to any clients about the work that you are doing, the different work that you're doing, or the different work that you offer. You know, to a degree, I mean, you might be able to talk about different things that you're shooting, but be very careful on the way that you are speaking, that you're not sounding or seeming that you are a competitor to your other company that is hired. Because a lot of times I am being hired by, quote unquote competitors, but we can do this work and I can get hired to keep doing stuff like this because of an unwritten rule of not stealing or look like you're stealing somebody's client. And that's what the real fear is. The real fear is that somebody's going to go out there and you're trying to take away their client from them and do this stuff. And if you appear to be doing stuff like that, whether you mean to or not, this can be very detrimental. If you do this and you go out and you talk to somebody about how you can do the same work for them. Maybe you can do the same work for them for less cost. Maybe you can do the same work for them and it can be better. Be prepared if you want to do that other person that hired you is likely not going to hire you ever again. Maybe you're okay with that, but also be prepared that people talk and other people will know that you did this. So if you do that, I do not suggest doing this at all. It's not a great way to work, and it's not an ethical way, in my opinion, to work. So you just really need to be conscious of when you're on set that way. Definitely in corporate situations. This happens more so in situations where you're dealing directly with a client. So in a kind of typical commercial world where you're working on bigger commercials and you're working through an agency, you don't really have the opportunity to do this because as a crew member, you don't really have the opportunity to talk to the client. So there's no real worry that way. But in more corporate kind of work, you typically have the client is right there. Maybe you're doing an interview with the client. Maybe that's the person that hired you and you're being hired out to go and do work for them. So you need to make sure that you're representing the company that you're working for. There's sometimes when I am hired by another production company and I am going out as a camera operator doing everything. I'm going out there, especially now in COVID, we're having small crews. I'm going out myself, setting up lighting, doing interviews, conducting all the things, and I'm giving them the footage. When I go to do that shoot, I am working for that other production company. It's no longer my production company. Okay, and we need to make sure we're conscious of that in the way, again, we are speaking. You can't be giving out business cards. You shouldn't be giving out your phone number. If they ask, if a client that's on a set says, hey, we really like what you're doing, the work you're doing, or whatever, they approach you, they want to have your contact information. The safest way to do this is to tell them to talk to the production company or the person higher up that has hired you. So yeah, I'd happy to be in contact with you. You can get my contact information through so-and-so. That way, so-and-so knows that this person has asked for their contact information and you're not going around somebody's back. You can explain to them that they just asked you for it and this is what you said to them. I've also had scenarios where a client that I've done work for, a work that I've done, shooting for another company, and the person we were filming for, after the fact, reached out, found me online, and contacted me directly and asked me about doing work direct to them, not through this other company that I was working with or who I had been subcontracted for. And the way to handle this, if this happens, is what I would do then is I send an email back saying, thank you for contacting me. I need to go through so-and-so, the company that hired me. Please send an email to them asking them the questions you're asking me. I would then also contact the other place and let them know this happens. Now, this happened to me one time, and I was kind of taken off guard, and I was kind of worried about this, and I contacted right away the production company that I was hired by to explain to them that this person had reached out to me, and they said, oh, sorry, yes, we gave them your contact information. We don't like working with them as a client anymore. They're a real pain in the butt. They want to do stuff, so we suggested you could do this stuff for them directly. You can do it if you want. We don't really care. And so that's a different scenario. Sometimes you reach out to them. Maybe they have too much work going on. Maybe they don't, doing other things. But again, just being careful, the way that you're talking, the way that you're representing yourself. You really want to be professional and represent who you are being hired by and talking to other people about that other company. Now, where this gets a little bit interesting as well is where you can talk to other people about the different work you're doing is with crew members, and where this is a little bit of an unwritten rule as well, because a lot of times, say myself, if I get subcontracted by somebody else to go and work for them, and I get subcontracted as the director of photography, and they say, Brian, who do you want to bring out as your crew? That's a kind of typical scenario where they'll ask me and say, is there certain people you like to work with? Do you want to do this stuff? Yes, I bring these people out for me. And these might be people I've met on other jobs where I was met by another production company that brought me out. So this is not a competitor. If you're talking to a other person on set about work that you're doing and, trying to do other work with them on other jobs, or you like working together, that is not seen as being a competitor because you're not trying to take a client away. You're just getting more work through other people on other jobs, if that makes sense. So you can talk to your crew about work that you're doing or what you like to do, or give them your contact information to stay in touch or to reach out to you if they need help on other jobs that they're working on. You just cannot do that to the client or anybody who's working for the people that have hired the other company that have hired you. So this is kind of going on a bit of a rant now. I've seen this happen. I have seen other friends have told me those things have happened, and typically they've told me that something like this has happened, and they're very upset, and they say, be careful working with this person because of this, because they try to you know, it appears that they're trying to take or get direct contact with the client that we have, or because those relationships that you build with your clients are very, very important. And for yourself, they're very important. You want to keep those things safe. They take a lot of time to build up. And you need to respect that for the other people that hired you, that this is not your job. You are being hired by them and you're out going doing work for them. So that's just my 2 cents on freelance work, unwritten rules, and how to conduct yourself when you're doing that type of work. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please think of subscribing to this channel. I'm going to have a lot more content coming out like this. We'll see you guys in the next one.